What's up, guys? Welcome back. Cars with Abe here. So if you haven't been following along, today we are going to be taking off the new WILWOOD master cylinder. The reason why is we are getting no brake fluid to the front brakes, but we're getting brake fluid to the rear brakes. Reading a whole bunch of stuff online, and because I'm not an expert in this, guys. I've mentioned that many times, so we're learning as we go on this stuff too. I've never performed a disc brake conversion in my entire life, but needless to say, what we have to do is we're gonna have to take apart the master cylinder, and then we're gonna have to put it on this table, makeshift vice grip that we have, and then we're gonna have to bench bleed it again just to make sure that there's no any air that got inside the master cylinder while we were tampering with the brake pedal. The next thing is they say to check the push rod on the master cylinder, the length of the push rod that connects to the brake pedal. The reason why is if it's too long, they say that there's like a preload, from my understanding, could be wrong, but there's a preload that happens that can prevent the master cylinder from portioning each port of the master cylinder, like the pressure going from the front brakes and the rear brakes. So that's where we're at. I'm hoping it's something simple. I kind of think it's something simple, but you never know with these builds. Enough talking, let's get right to it. Oh man, all right, so we are back to it. I'm not really happy that I have to take out the master cylinder again, but I mean, as you guys know, building a vehicle, sometimes you just gotta do something many times in a row. Compared to the last video, it is amazing outside. It's gonna get a little hot later on today, but it is so amazing outside right now. Alright, so we have the master cylinder out. Here it is in all its glory. So now I'm gonna go ahead, bench bleed the master cylinder. As I said before, we need to get some new fluid in there ASAP. It's been leaking out. Yes, I don't have the caps for it to prevent it from leaking out. That's why we have some pans. Oh well. Anyways, we're gonna get these fittings on here ASAP so we can go ahead and bench bleed it once more. Now, this is the push rod that I was talking about. I think we're gonna have to have this travel less or be not as long here. So we're gonna have to adjust this right here, bring this in a lot more, and this as well. According to the instructions, they're not really clear, so I'm not too entirely sure. Keeping my fingers crossed, because while we were taking it out, here's the proportioning valve. If you can see here, this has FO, FO, RO. So the FO is front output, rear output. Now, before I wasn't getting any brake fluid coming out of this here. I was only getting it coming from the rear. So now, once I took the brake pedal off, I was getting brake fluid coming out of here and here, which is a big indication that it might be that preload issue that I was talking to you guys about earlier in the video. What we're gonna have to do, we're gonna double check some threading on this here just to make sure. One of the lines was kind of difficult to put back on, and we hope that an old line didn't mess it up before. Amateur mistakes. Anyways, needless to say, we have a lot of work to do.
A few moments later.
An update, guys. What we're gonna do is we're gonna start test fitting this, which is what we should have done in the first place, honestly. Bad part on my end. But basically, before we took all the fluid out, we're gonna bench bleed, do everything over. We're starting from scratch. This push rod right here, this adjustment sleeve is already to its fullest potential, where it is the shortest it will go. The push rod has to bottom out into the master cylinder before it can work properly, and the ports will not work properly if so, basically saying that the ports will not supply enough pressure. I don't know if any of this is making any sense to y'all. It's kind of hard for me to grasp. It should be pretty simple, so hopefully we can resolve that issue there and get us on the road once and for all. So we have the master cylinder back in for like the third time, I guess. I don't know. And we are bench bleeding it inside the car and letting the pedal do all the work. One of the reasons why I wanted to do this is because I wanted to see exactly if that pedal is traveling the distance that it needs to travel upon bench bleed. And since these are clear, I can see if there's fluid traveling. We have brake fluid coming out of the front driver's side line as of right now. Before I hooked it up, we were getting brake fluid out of that line. That's awesome. The only line that I have not checked yet is this line right here. This is the passenger front, and I have not checked if fluid is coming out of this line at the moment. Why this is so awesome is because the only difference is we do not have the brake pedal hooked up yet. The push rod is not mounted onto the brake pedal, which means if I'm getting fluid right now to the front wheels and to the back wheels, then I hook up the brake pedal with that push rod being a little bit too long or too short, whatever, just not sized perfectly, we know what the problem is. So keep your fingers crossed. I'm hoping that it's almost settled. Sorry I didn't get a lot going on. The only reason why I didn't get the master cylinder going in multiple times, like maybe 3 or 4 times, to test everything, to check the fitment, to get it as best as possible for the brakes, is because you guys already seen that. So I figured you guys wouldn't want that, but I can just relay and tell you exactly what we did there. So again, keep your fingers crossed. I'm so over this brake conversion stuff, man. Like, I see it here. It's sitting with the wheels and tires on jacks. I want to freaking drive it. If you guys can see that, we are getting a carburetor leak, so we might want to replace that before we drive it too. I know a lot of you guys have already told me to replace the carburetor. I was just wondering how far I could get without replacing it. We already have a new carburetor in the box and everything ready to go, but you know what? Might as well do it. I agree with you. Anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and see where we can get some brake fluid. Yes! Got brake fluid! We got brake fluid, boys. So as mentioned before, we have brake fluid. Yes! We have brake fluid. We go in here, and this brake pedal is just, it feels so amazing. Turn on the light so you can see, just, there we go. Perfect. So now, I think we have to test it. Whew, I lied. Okay, now it's evening time and it's getting hot, but we're putting back together the wheels and tires. We're cleaning up a little bit so that way we can start testing those brakes. I'm not leaving here until we test these brakes, and hopefully we have some brakes. Now what our plan is, we're gonna go ahead and test the brakes by not turning on the car, putting it in neutral, and just kind of me pushing it and seeing if it stops first and foremost. So once that happens and we gain a little trust with that, then we're gonna turn it on, and then we're gonna kind of along this driveway there, we are going to test it out. We might just end up parking it out in the garage right after that, but needless to say, we're there, boys. We're there. Almost final drive. I really don't want to take it out on the street without replacing that carburetor, because it's probably going to run rough right now. This is the first official look with those wheels and tires. Man, not bad, not bad. I will say that I don't like the color contrast. So we got to do something about the color of the wheels, but the stance, I'm digging the stance. It's pretty good. We got it jacked up in the back right now. It does have air shocks. This is the moment of truth. We are going to push it in neutral, and we're gonna see if it brakes, and then we'll go from there. Brake. We got brakes. Poor baby's been sitting too long. There we go. There we go. All right, bad idea. Oh, she stops. Oh, she's stopping good. Oh man, check it out. There you go. Oh, she's alive, guys. She is back. And for the first time in 15 years, you saw it roll by itself, not by anyone pushing it in the back. I'm so stoked for this, guys. That sums up today's video. If you liked it, please smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe. It really helps me out. Please, you guys have an awesome day. Peace.